Hey y'all, Jamie here, proud 54-year-old trans woman from New Orleans. So, where last I left off, my sister and I had gotten back together and she had moved in with me with her friend Vicky, and we went out tripping on acid together. And some guys tried to pick her up at a gay bar called Jules. They were straight guys, they wandered in off the street. And I went the hell off. I mean, I shoved this guy, I threatened him, I told him she's jailbait, I screamed in his face. I just totally lost my cool and snapped. And I told him, if you want to sit in prison, if you want to do 16 will get you 20, you go right ahead. You keep dirking around here, you know? So I chased him off. My sister was horrified. She was like, girl, that was kind of overkill, don't you think? And I was like, look, I was extremely protective. I was always protective of my little sister. Even when we were little kids, I remember this little boy one time when I think I was like, God, she was a toddler and I was maybe 5 or 6. And I mean, this little boy pushed her down and I grabbed a chunk of cement and bopped him upside his head with it and gave him cauliflower ear for pushing my little sister. So yeah, I was very protective, always was. And I was seriously ready to fight these guys. But it didn't come to that, didn't come to blows. We settled into living together, getting to know each other all over again. She was getting to know me as a sister instead this time, which, she was completely open to it right from the beginning. She didn't judge. She didn't try to, tell me, why are you doing this? You're wrong for it. God's not going to forgive you, that stuff. Unlike a little later in life when she found Jesus, but that's another story for another time. Anyway, we're living there. I'm still seeing Walker at this point. Sexy Walker with the Billy Ray Cyrus achy breaky hard haircut, because it was the late 80s, And I thought he was just hot as hell, but he had an old lady named Chili Pepper that he was living with, but he was spending every night and early mornings with me. Okay? And one night, Walker came over about 4:30 in the morning, I guess. And this boy had a sex drive of the devil. Just of the devil. He never got off of me. Anytime we were alone together, he was on top of me. Just going at it and at it and at it. Wore me out. Just wore me out. And this one night, he comes over early in the morning and he gets on top of me and we're going at it like rabbits. And he's like, he had a thing about like biting my shoulder and biting my neck like an animal and holding on to me, kind of, and holding on to me while he was getting in there. Anyway, sorry, that's probably TMI. Anyway, he leans down in my ear while this is going on and he says, by the way, your sister and her friend have been watching us from the kitchen for the last maybe 15 minutes. And I jumped the hell up and I pushed him off me and I said, excuse me, she's what? And I looked around and her little friend went running back to the bedroom again. I was horrified and I was pissed at him. Like, how dare you not tell me that? Dude, what is wrong with you? I don't want my little sister watching me have sex. So the next morning, or well, later that day, I should say, after Walker left, and my sister, we were all up and about, I pulled her to the side and I said, listen, don't be embarrassed. I'm trying not to be embarrassed, but why? Like, why were you watching me? And she said, to be honest, girl, I just was really curious to see what you did, like how sex worked for you. She said, but it's pretty much the same as it is for me. And I was like, pretty much. I mean, there's a little obstacle in the way, but anyway, again, we're getting into TMI territory. So yeah, she was curious and she satisfied her curiosity, I guess. So one day I'm in the bedroom and we had set up like this little vanity area. And in the living room, we had another bed set up for me and Bobby Joe that we shared. And then Terry and the girls shared the bedroom. And I was in the bedroom, though, and I was getting ready for the evening. And this was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And Bobby Joe came into the apartment with a man. And she takes him to the living room. I see them go by because I'm sitting in the bedroom and I can see through the open door them going by. Well, next thing I know, I hear her out in the living room and she's saying, "That's it. You take that. You take that." But it sounds like really corny and like soft and sappy. And I was like, so she comes back to the bedroom and she's like, "Girl, do you want to make some money real quick? This guy wants to be dominated and I'm not really that good at that. You know, I don't know what to do." And I was like, "Well, what are you doing?" And so I was like, "Okay, sure." So I went out into the living room. I got my money from the guy before we continued. And then I was like, "What were you doing?" And she was spanking him with a spandex belt. A spandex belt, like a cloth spandex belt. And I was like, "Girl, that's not how you beat somebody." I said, "Miss Thing, this is how you beat somebody." And I went to the closet and I grabbed a big old black leather belt. And I proceeded to beat the hell out of this man. I mean, upside one side and down the other. And then he turned over and I saw suction cup marks on his chest because he had had a coronary the day before and had just gotten out of the hospital that morning. And if you want to know what happened next, y'all know the routine. Be here tomorrow and I will too. I love you all. I love you all for watching and I love you for the comments. Thanks again. Bye-bye.